this month's update. Actually, it's not really going to be an update. You may or may not be aware, there's a Facebook page for the Colorado Front Range. And that Facebook page is basically just a way to interact with me. When I first set the Facebook page up, we opened it up to any comment that came in. Didn't care one way or the other. But after a while, many of the members kind of requested that, hey, can we have just about the railroad? So the Facebook page is just about the railroad, and it allows interaction with me or with what's going on. Throw out suggestions, let me know video ideas, any of those type of things. We don't discriminate for the most part on those type of things. And in this video is actually for Vincent, who requested that I had recently posted a photograph of my panels, and Vince said, hey, do you have a video on this? Or, is there anything I can learn from this? And I thought, I don't think I've ever did a video on this. And I went through, and sure enough, I hadn't. So this video is really about how I make my panels. Now, panels can be broken up into, you have control panels in which folks, use to flip switches and things like that. You can have panels that are used for power supply. You can have panels that are used for turnout control, in the sense that, like my panels that are on the south and north end of my staging yard, and there's relays there and an LCC circuit that holds everything. And they drop, in the case of the northern one, it tucks up into the layout, and then it drops down if I need to work on it, so I don't have to climb underneath the layout. An example of a panel is this panel right here. This is an old panel that I used to have on a layout, and I still keep it because, frankly, the 3-volt circuit that we built here is very handy for doing signals and powering enough signal power. And that's really what this is. It's just a way to manage things and get it organized. So the purpose of a panel, whether it's a control panel, a power district panel, or a turnout control panel, or any number of other things. There might be a panel that you make to power a town. You want to, put all those lights and all those things onto one panel so you can manage the whole thing. And then when you need to troubleshoot, you go straight to that panel. And that's exactly what panels are used for. Simply to make your troubleshooting efforts easy. So, because Vincent asked, we're going to provide a video on this. And so the number one thing we're going to do is just basically do an overview on what I do to make a panel. I'm not going to make this a grueling step-by-step type thing. This is just an overview of what I do to go through it. It is not the only way to make a panel. It's just how I make my panels. So to start that, we're going to go to the very first location that I start with making a panel, and that is the computer. So let's take a walk to the computer. Okay, so here we are on the computer, and this is the panel that I'm going to be working on. So we need to discuss a little bit about what a panel's purpose is. The whole purpose of putting these and organizing these panels together is to make troubleshooting easy. If you work on a layout and you build a layout, you know that the first thing that comes into play is troubleshooting. It's the number one problem of most layouts. If you have no organization and no way of troubleshooting what's wrong, you will get frustrated and the layout will just sit. When you're dealing with a large layout, you're going to have JMRI interfaces, you're going to have turnout controls, you're going to have all these type of things. You're going to have to organize. Just as you plan your layout, you have to organize these panels. Now, it doesn't have to be anything really complicated. I mean, an example of that would be when I look at my simple north staging yard turnout controls. All that's on here is a terminal block that feeds this buckboard, this relay board, and that's it. That's all it has to do. It just simply feeds those two things. This LCC node goes into there. What happens is if I have a problem with one of my turnouts on the layout and it's in the north staging, either upper or lower staging ladder I go to this panel, none of the other panels, and I take a look. What's the power source going into the relays? Are the relays flipping? Is the LCC node working? Then I simply can just go right underneath there and go, oh, motor 6, which is turnout controls, which is turnout 14 or whatever number it is having a problem. It's not moving. It's not doing something. It might be that the motor control's bad. It might be that the relay bad. And that's all it is to it. A wire might have come loose. Any one of those things. But I've eliminated most of the layout by doing that. When you do a large layout, you're going to break things up into different power districts. I have 3 power districts. That means that at least when I run into a short circuit or a problem, I can eliminate 2/3 of the layout by simply going to the power district that's got the short. That's the only reason for designing and doing them this way, is that it makes it easy for me when I have to troubleshoot. For the most part, all it is organizing wire and getting it done. Again, when you design your layout, you organized everything, you figured out what you wanted to do, you made sure that it was all going to fit on there, you had plans of where each of these components are going to go. The same holds true with a panel. That's the only difference. Whether it's a control panel, a power panel, a turnout control panel, a lighting up of a town, you might have a panel that just does that. All it is just to organize the wiring so that if there's a problem, you know where to go. And it's that simple. This panel here, we're going to take it from here. We're going to show you what's going on when we take it and look at it live. But this is just the first step, organizing and designing the panel. You don't have to use some fancy program like I'm using here for Corel. I happen to use a laser, so I need to design these panels because I'm cutting them out. But if you're using a simple piece of plywood, all you need to do is just draw out the plan on a piece of paper so that you can organize your thoughts when you don't have any of the stress and figure out what goes on the panel. So from that, let's take a look in the wood shop. Okay, so here we are, we're in the wood shop. And this is the panel that we're going to be working on. I just got this off the laser yesterday. To do one of my panels takes me a couple days. So it's nothing more than ordinary hardboard. And so the first day is just painting it. So I paint it all white. And then I mask off the top up here. And hang on a second, I'll grab the whole thing. So this is the whole thing right here. You can see where I masked off the top. It went across there all the way. And then the purpose of that is nothing more than just to have a complete panel that's all well organized and ready to go. So it's masked off, it's painted. I then, instead of using stencils or lettering, which you can use, if you're just gonna simply use a piece of plywood, my suggestion is paint it. And my suggestion is also paint it white, because 9 out of 10 times these panels are located in a dark corner. And if it's white, it's easier to see, where if it's black or dark, hard to see and hard to see what's going on. So that's why I painted mine white. They're labeled and numbered up on the later labeled up on top so that I know exactly what it is. It's the reason why I use the lasers, because I cut all the stencils out of the tape and then I just paint them afterwards when I'm done. So the very first thing I'm going to end up doing is putting in this voltage amp meter. This is from DCC Circuits, or Specialty DCC. Sorry. And these just have just some simple through holes. And we're just going to feed these right through, just like so. And that's all I'm going to do, is just put these panels all together, and then eventually it will go right out to the pylon that's going to house this, and then I'll begin to start wiring it from underneath the layout there. And that's all there is to it. It's not a complicated process. It's not very involved. It's just using some thought process to make sure that I get the layout and all the wiring organized so that in the future when I have to come back and work on it, I'm not sitting here scratching my head going, I have no idea what I did. And I didn't do this the very first time I built my layouts. Matter of fact, on small layouts, it wasn't a big deal. But when I built the Colorado and Coyote Creek, my first large layout, let's just say John and me didn't exactly use too many organizational skills of wiring. And when we ran into a problem, it would take me 2, 3, 4 days to find out where the problem was. And it was after that that I decided that we needed to get organized on wiring of the layout. And that's all I did. I just started getting organized on wiring the layout. And these panels are the way to get them organized. John was absolutely fantastic at doing this. I picked up the skill from him, and many thanks to him many thanks on working on many of the layouts. But that's how you get your layout organized, and that's the purpose of a panel. So I hope that helps you out. That's what goes into designing them. It's nothing very special or complicated, but if you've never been told or seen how it's done or what the purpose is of them, then you wouldn't know. Now, the same holds true if you're doing a control panel. You want to maybe set them up. It comes natural. Most everybody who does layouts, they only put panels for just the area they're in. Maybe they're at one end of a yard and they've got turnouts on the other end. They're going to have a panel down there. Rarely, or they put one in the middle. Whatever it is, you need to sit down and look at it and organize your panels just like you organized your layout when you designed it. So I hope that's helpful. And until next time, happy modeling.